Bruce Springsteen,
the boss,
a legend.
Born USA.
Dancing in the Dark, The River, Born to Run. His fans are truly disciples. I've been a fan, and unashamedly so. And I love it. That's how I feel about Bruce Springsteen. Poetry to rock music. I'm going to take you high. Oh, I'm on fire.
Welcome to the Guardians of the Vinyl Vault. 4 old friends, 1 sacred vault, and a lineup of artists awaiting judgment.
Welcome to the Guardians of the Vinyl Vault. This is the podcast where we take an artist and we decide whether they should be godlike geniuses, or they should be a club class, or they should be banned for life. Thank you for listening. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, tonight you have your usual panel of Guardians: Stephen Moore, Richard Irvine, and Gareth Neal. And tonight, Mr. Irvine is going to advocate for somebody quite special. Richard?
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen. Sorry, Rodney, I was waiting for you to announce him.
Oh, right, okay. Well, the boss.
The boss, right, okay.
Yeah, I thought you might have actually had a hat saying the boss on it tonight.
No, he's done quite well because he's got all the albums behind him there. Was
Yeah.
it Born to Run album? Born USA?
No Born to Run album there.
Oh, what's
Gareth?
that there?
He's managed to squeeze in a bit of Prince, though, hasn't
Yes.
they? Bit of Prince as well.
No, that's the Tunnel of Love album, which I will come to, Gareth. No, that's
Okay.
you've embarrassed yourself. You let yourself down.
He
You
has.
let your family down.
Right.
I think
Shall
it
I
shows
get
you where
this?
I'm going.
Shall I get this ball rolling then? Actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I was asked to come up with another protagonist for this vault, we're talking people here now, of course, that are in for the whole of time, for people to access the best musicians. And I obviously one of that came to mind was, of course, Bruce Springsteen. Having shared 1984 with you guys in the other series that we do, where I proposed the Born in the USA album for that year, I was aghast that you all kind of. I was aghast. I wasn't gassed, but I was aghast that you.
I think.
Wait.
No, I think you need to do the facial expression because you're very good at facial expressions. So, what did you look like when you were aghast there, Richard?
Aghast. There we go. I was aghast that you didn't. There wasn't a love in like I was expecting. So tonight, really, I feel like I'm a lawyer back in court again to put forward my defense for my artist, and I'm going to do that for Bruce Springsteen today. But I also have part of my research. I contacted a few people that I would class as super fans to get their feelings as well. So I'll be bringing that into my my talk at the beginning here. I haven't, unlike Stephen for Radiohead, I haven't used ChatGPT. I'm going to be talking from the heart this time, guys.
Well, from the heart and from other people's heart, clearly, as you've consulted other folk.
Well,
on your talk.
Yes. So Bruce Springsteen really came into my musical mind for that album at that time. We were at school, weren't we? We were at 1984. And suddenly I was watching this guy on stage, and it was probably Dancing in the Dark. Now, that just led to basically his most popular and best-selling album ever. But little did I know at that time that Bruce Springsteen had already been on the stage or on the scene for several albums before. And of course, I hadn't really come across. I might have heard him on the radio, but I probably didn't even click it was Bruce Springsteen. Songs like The River and Born to Run probably hadn't even registered with me at that time. Like a lot of people at that era, I was 14 years old. This was my introduction to Bruce Springsteen. So what a fantastic way to start. That's how I thought about it at the time. An album full of fantastic songs. 7 top 10 singles came from that in the UK alone. And it sold through the roof. It took him to another stratosphere. And I gather that he was asked to write, they didn't see an immediate hit on the album, and therefore he was asked to write another one. That's how he came up with Dancing in the Dark. But when you look at the rest of the album, there's plenty of hits on it. I scratch my head when I hear that story. In fact, my hometown was the only one that got to number one in the American Billboard chart. In fact, Dancing in the Dark was kept off by songs like When Doves Cry. And so he was in a real battle at the time with huge, big superstars. But
He had to
ever
get the
since
Prince
then,
in some way, didn't he?
He's got Prince in more than you get Duran in.
but ever since then, I've been a fan, and unashamedly so. 4 years later, I was living back in. I just must have moved to back into England, and I remember going with great anticipation, waiting for his next album, and it was The Tunnel of Love, which is the album I'm pointing to here, his follow-up to Born in the USA. And I actually love the album. Fans refer to it as his divorce album, but it was a lot more introspective. It was nothing like the Born in the USA album. It had much more reflection, but it still had the strong songs, Tougher Than the Rest. One step up, two steps back. The title of the album, Tunnel of Love. And I like this new look. I like the cover with him standing by the white Corvette and the suit. And apparently, having to talking about fans whilst researching this album, a lot of people, some people, the Born in the USA people, found this a bit of a shock, this album. And therefore, some people fell off the Bruce Springsteen train, but I didn't. I stuck with him. And I love that album, and I kept on buying his material, and I've bought his albums ever since. Not on vinyl. I went down the CD direction, but
that was the first time you fell in love with the Tunnel of Love, was it?
The Tunnel, dear. No.
Oh,
But I've always loved Bruce Springsteen, and I'll summarize quickly, is that I loved his voice, his storytelling. I like that kind of the songwriting where he's talking about a land that at that point I'd never been to, America, where it was talking about lost jobs, tough childhoods, beers, old cars, meeting up with your old friends that you haven't seen for years, like in glory days, and celebrating the past. When I listen to that song now, I think about us meeting up, talking about the glory days, and I just love I'm transported to his world. Every time I listen to Bruce Springsteen, his lyrics transport me to that kind of world. And I love it. I love him for that. It's like poetry to rock music. That's how I feel about Bruce Springsteen. Over the last couple of days, I've been listening to a few albums from like Western Stars and Letter to You, albums that I hadn't listened to from 2019 and 2020. And I've loved listening to them again. Brilliant albums, and he's matured. His voice is matured, but he's a fantastic artist. And if we are to be taken seriously in this vault, then I'm proposing he's got to be put in for a start, and for me, it's got to be platinum status. Okay, so I know some real super fans, some fans in my one particular guy, Miles Scott. Now I know Miles. It comes to my film group. But I know he's a super fan. He travels everywhere to see Bruce Springsteen. He's seen him, I think it says here, dozens and dozens of times, 24 times. 24 times he's seen him in various different countries. He was at the Glastonbury gig right at the front. And he knows guys that have been over 200 times. I mean, these are disciples. His fans are super fans are truly disciples, and they will follow him everywhere. And I'm later on in this conversation, I'm going to read out. I asked Miles to write me a short paragraph, and he wrote me. He's just come back from a long trip, and he said, "I can't possibly reduce what I think of Bruce Springsteen into a paragraph." So later on, I've summarized it. And I'm going to read that out.
Is there going to be a part 2 of this podcast?
Well, there very well could be, but just quickly to back up some of the things as well. He's sold over 140 million albums. He's won 20 Grammys. I mean, this guy has had a one-man show on Broadway. Again, one of the other people that I contacted, George, who has seen him 58 times, saw his one-man show. in Broadway.
If
which
you
was,
carry on much longer, this will be a one-man show on Broadway.
it doesn't sound as long as your rants on Radiohead. I can
Well, I
assure
think
you.
you'll find if you get the
Yes.
stopwatch out,
But, you know,
it is.
But that's what I mean. This is a man that started off his musical career at 23, and he's still going now. He was touring over here last year, wasn't he? At 75. He's now 76. This guy plays shows regularly, 3.5 hours.
Exactly.
I asked Miles, what did he play last year, Miles? Surely he's not. He said he was averaging, again, he sees him several times, 3 hours. 3 hours at 75. And, you know, Paul McCartney wants to be on stage with him. You know what I mean? He joined him twice in Liverpool. I mean, the guy's a legend. And I think we have to put people like that into the platinum level of the vault. There we go.
Well
But
done, Richard.
I'll come back to Miles later because what he wrote is quite beautiful, really.
What I missed was his thank you.
Thank you.
I think he consciously left that one out.
I think
I
so.
did.
He's got a note and he's going, at the end, do not say thank you.
Yeehaw.
I'll start off this. So yeah, born in the USA, I bought one of the first albums I ever bought, or probably in that stage got from the Britannia Music.
Exactly. That's where we got it from.
You know, that
Hey, do you remember?
scam that was on. Great, you know, started off like yourself, Dancing in the Dark. Remember Courtney Cox was the actual person he danced
She
with
was, yeah.
from Friends. So really good. But then I did notice the 70s. He had Born to Run. He had Darkness. Born
On the
in
Edge of
USA.
Town, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really go back. And truthfully, like, and I know there are super fans on it. I would not do. I deem myself. I like his music, but I wonder, is too much of his reputation live performance driven? I think to become the true fan of Bruce Springsteen and maybe take to that next level to really love his music, I've got a feeling you've got to see a concert. And I believe many people will become a convert because they're seeing him live. You know, for example, I know a guy who travels all around the world, and it wouldn't be the first person I've heard just watching Bruce Springsteen. And to tell you the truth, I've never heard of any other singer or band that takes such a following. So I believe I like his music, but why I may
That's
not
a really good point, Gareth, and I'll answer that question. And it goes back to the Prince argument we were talking about the other week. A figure has just come back into my head from what Miles wrote to me, and he said in those 24 times, he has heard 171 songs. And that's because for every concert he does, it's never the same set list.
Yeah.
And not only that,
171 different songs. Do you
different songs. And he said quite, I keep a spreadsheet. He keeps a spreadsheet because
I've heard this about the fans of Bruce Springsteen now.
Yeah,
That doesn't surprise me.
And not only that,
your ear, in fairness, Gareth, your ears pricked up at the phrase spreadsheet.
So Miles, yes,
has he done it? Has he done a nice pie chart?
Miles quite proudly has a spreadsheet because, you know, he names songs that he said he hasn't played for 25 years. And they go for these little Easter eggs. You know, he'll suddenly pluck a song from a B-side from an extras album or something, and people, you know, the people hold up signs saying, "Please say that, sing this." But not only would he change it up all the time, obviously to keep it interesting for him, and obviously usually the band, but he'll also play songs differently. He makes songs play in a different way. So
I think that is reason I like his music, but I've seen lots of concerts. You know, I love concerts. Bruce Springsteen, you know, whenever he comes to Ireland, sells out immediately. The concerts, everyone say it was amazing. And it seems to elevate people from who like their music to super fandom. And I'm
Yeah.
really quite interested. And I feel as if, like, I have regrets. I never saw Prince, I never saw George Michael, those people. I feel as if at some stage I've got to see a
You've
Bruce
got
Springsteen
well,
concert.
Do you
y-
feel you feel, Gareth, you maybe have to rather than you
Yeah,
have the own personal urge to?
yeah, yeah,
And I must admit, goodness me, for the second episode on the trot, I kind of get where Gareth's coming from, because I get that he's a legend, and I get that other people are borderline obsessive. In fact, just take the phrase borderline out of
yeah,
that. They are
yeah,
obsessive, and
yeah.
there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Good on you, Miles. Uh, it's just, for me, he is a quintessential Americana artist. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are other American artists that appeal to me a little bit more. John Prine being the bigger one, slightly a lot less better known, and also a lot more dead. But I, I just don't. Richard said there about, glory days maybe reminds us of the
Yeah,
times when we were a lot younger than we were,
yeah.
and maybe had a lot more scope to
During the
enjoy ourselves
summer,
and
yeah,
freedom and that sort of thing. But so much of his imagery doesn't really chime with my life.
yeah,
And therefore there's that sort of, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it in the slightest. It just doesn't resonate in the same way that if he was using imagery where I'm from, be that the north of Ireland or the UK or Europe, it doesn't
it's
have
funny though,
that
but
same pull.
he's too American, maybe.
no, no, not really. I can see where you're coming from, but when I've been listening to his music again this week, just to for research and whatever, he talks about jobs that have been lost, factories that have been
True.
closed down, towns that were once thriving are now, saying, this is not the town or the area that I remember. And we can all say that from areas now. So therefore I can connect to that, you know.
Yeah, and I must admit, and
I don't think it
it's
has to, I don't
it's
think it has to be
interesting.
America. Yeah, I don't
No,
think it has to be America.
I do agree with you, and I do see where you're coming from there. And it's not the time or place to get into our personal opinions of politics, but it certainly is the time to talk about Bruce Springsteen's own political persuasions, because
Mm,
he has been, and you've got to hand it to him, he has always been
yeah.
very admirably
Vocal.
a champion, a vocal champion. You're quite right, Rodney, of the working class,
Mm.
and an honest and a genuine champion of uh, the working man, the working lady, the working class. And you've got to take your hat off to him. He
And
has
it
been
has
consistent with that.
and has to be said, the Democratic Party. He's
Mm.
championed Obama, he's championed Biden's campaigns,
Yep.
Hillary Clinton's.
Yep.
He's let them use their music, and I think that's what's really annoyed him.
And to the
Uh,
extent that other imagery he uses has been hijacked with more right wing causes.
yes, but they only because they've completely misinterpreted songs
Yeah,
like "Born in the USA," which
yeah,
was an anti-war song,
yeah,
and how vets were treated
yeah.
when they returned. And yet, I think that also, by the way, by doing this research, Rodney, this week, I actually thought there was maybe a possible snobbery with the Born in USA with Bruce Springsteen fans, thinking, it's obviously this very, very popular record. But I don't, from my research and asking these people, it's not that. It's because they they want those people that enjoyed that record, therefore, to know that that's not his only record,
Yep.
and that's just
Yep.
one little piece of a jigsaw. And
Yep.
they get frustrated to think that it's always referenced. But then,
Yep.
on the other hand, I feel it's bound to be referenced because it's his best-selling album, and it's got so many catchy songs like Nebraska, which the recent film has concentrated on. For me, I find more difficult to fall in love with because it's completely. He was meant to record it with the E Street Band, but he ended up recording it just with guitar and his harmonica. And to me, it's a bit too bare. I prefer the albums with the E Street Band, or for example, on the Tunnel of Love album, I love his slow songs like Tougher Than the Rest and One Step Up, One Step Back. I love songs with Bruce Springsteen just talking about a failed relationship or a young love.
His imagery is fantastically raw. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't necessarily chime with me because I wasn't born in New Jersey. I'm not really familiar with Ashbury Heights, etc., etc. But some of his imagery is fantastically raw, and talking about it has just put me in mind of that great opening couplet. Well, more than a couplet, actually. The first 3 or 4 lines from Thunder Road, which is particularly in this day and age not politically correct, but it's just superb. The screen door slams, Mary's dress sways, like a vision she dances across the porch as the radio plays. Roy Orbison singing for the lonely, hey, it's me, and I want you only. Don't turn me home again. I just can't face myself alone again. And it's a yearning, it's a love, it's an absolute passion for the one you love. And that's universal. That's not Americana. That's just poetry.
I think actually you have to overlook the Born in the USA album when you're talking about this man's legacy, because that was an album he probably needed from a commercial point of view, but he had so many brilliant tracks and albums before that. And I'm just reading, Greetings from Ashbury Park features the track Blinded by the Light. Now, everybody assumes that's Manfred Mann's song. It's not. It is a Bruce Springsteen song. It's a classic song, and I think also when you're talking about the Vault, it's not just about the music, and it's about the longevity, it's about the legacy. I mean, and what he stood for. And I love the fact he stands against Trump very vocally, when you would assume a lot of his fan base, would be the types that would be pro-Trump, and he stood out there, and he has made a stand, and I think that actually takes a lot of guts, and that's what a true artist is about.
To the point where actually Trump has openly criticized his criticism. So,
but let's take away the politics away from it. That's going to the politics.
It's about the music. I think it's difficult, though, Gareth, to take away the politics when it comes to Springsteen, and I'm not sure that you can. I mean,
but he shouldn't be getting into the Vinyl Vault for that.
No,
not that.
I actually we've concentrated too much on that. To tell you, when you get back to the music, the concerts,
I actually think
sales.
Springsteen maybe it's got into it too much, but it is what it is. But sales-wise and 20 Grammys, we should be talking about his legacy in that respect.
Well, what I'm talking about though is he wrote Born to Run at the age of 24. He had been gigging since the age of 14. Now, Born to Run is just a massive track, and anybody who can write that at the age of 24, you got to say there's something special about that. That's not a song that you just. It's something that you feel, and I am not the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan, but I've come to really admire him. And one of our team on Radio Alta, somebody called Alison Howes, has seen him right across the world. She's one of those Springsteen absolute godlike fans.
Disciples.
But when do you ever hear of another band who has this following? Like you hear the followings, but he has the ultimate superfans. And I feel there is something that
I'll tell you why.
You have to go and see him.
I'll tell you why. Because he's still going. He's still going at 76.
He's not really taken much of a break, has he?
No. That's why, because people like Miles is 66. I'm 55. So you've had his fans that have been there since the beginning. You've got the fans like me that came into the 80s and then have carried on, and then so we're still there. We can still buy tickets for these concerts. He's he's pushing 80 and he's doing 3-hour concerts.
I'll tell
It's
you,
incredible.
I listened to Desert Island Discs from 2016 today while I was walking the dog just to hear him, and he was on there with Kirsty.
There you go,
whatever her
Rodney.
name is.
You appeal to the old age pensioners,
Yeah.
which the four of us nearly are. But you broaden the audience. Good man.
It was actually interesting to hear him pick his songs.
Right.
Oh, he was the
guest.
the
He
guest.
was the picker.
Right.
And actually he picked, for example, he picked Presley, Hound Dog. He picked the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. The Rolling Stones, It's All Over Now. Van Morrison, Madame George. He was a massive Van Morrison fan. He loved.
Well, he's gone up in my estimation for that alone, Rodney.
He picked Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, James Brown, Out of Sight, The Four Tops, Baby I Need Your Lovin', what a track, and Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone. I looked at that and I thought, that's somebody who has taken the breadth of music and brought it together. And I thought, what? I mean, I looked at that list and I thought, wow, that's
actually funny.
list.
Funny you should say that, because I think his last album, which was just a couple of years ago, was an album of mostly covers, which he was singing, from songs that he probably had always loved and put his spin on. So I think he's only done that twice. I think the other one was the Seeger sessions. There's in all those albums he's done.
Pete Seeger songs.
There's that kind of country, folky type feel to it, where he's using all those different instruments. And don't forget, the E Street Band have been with him on and off. He kind of sacked them off in the early 2000s and went down a different route and just used session musicians. They're often welcome back. Obviously, they've been touring with him, and the last two albums, I think, the E Street Band have been in the recording studio.
And of course, if we're considering Bruce Springsteen, then we have to, of course, consider Stephen Van Zandt,
yes,
whose contribution to popular culture, if it was based on the fact that he was Silvio Dante in The Sopranos alone, nothing to do with music, but he, on his own, deserves entry into the vinyl vault, where he could do his I don't think any of yous are as big a Sopranos fan as I am, but when Silvio Dante, the consigliere of Tony Soprano, does his Al Pacino impression when he goes, "Just when I thought you were out, they pulled me back in." It's brilliant. But that's got nothing to do with Bruce Springsteen or the E Street Band, apart from that he is also.
No, but when you watch them both on stage, they obviously are such. Him and Steve are both obviously tremendous friends, and you get that feeling with the whole band. I mean, I know they've lost Clarence, the fantastic saxophonist, who was there, and but what I haven't mentioned, by the way, briefly, is if you see behind me here, if you can see that.
Yeah,
Sam Fender, of course, is a huge.
I read this.
I get the connection.
Oh,
you can see it.
Massively. His music is massively inspired. I mean, he openly admits it, and I see little Easter eggs throughout his. The use of the piano, the harmonies, even the album cover has got the black and red Nebraska type coloring things going on there, and the black and white. He openly flaunts it, but. So I almost see a guy there that is carry on that type of mantle when, unfortunately, we no longer have Bruce Springsteen. But I would love them to do a collaboration. I think people have been whispering, well, and I think obviously Bruce is aware of Sam Fender, but I would love them to do some form of collaboration in the future.
Do you know what's interesting is that actually the album that he's most famous for, Born in the USA, is almost an anomaly compared to everything else he's done. It was so commercial, but he needed that album.
But it was also, and here's the word that keeps resonating in my head throughout this discussion. He was he was and is authentic, is Bruce Springsteen.
Yep.
And his authenticity has lasted for as long as I have been following him from afar, not as a disciple of his music, but certainly enamored of it. And I guess this is the beauty of the Guardians of the Vinyl Vault, in that it does allow us to challenge it. And before I came to talk about it tonight, spent a little bit of time listening to his music, spent a little time about thinking about it. But now, actually, in fairness, I'm a lot more convinced of his authenticity, of his
Yeah.
stature than I was previously.
Yeah, he's been working the circuit since the age of 14. He started gigging then. And I think I've written down here, Stephen, you use the word authentic. I have authentic, passionate performer, a grafter, a real human being, and somebody who I still think, with all the superstardom that you get, he still comes across like he's pretty grounded, you know.
Yeah, I get that impression as well. And I know Gareth likes, he likes, in previous episodes, we've talked about being popular in other countries. Well, of course, we know he's popular here.
Yeah.
But for example, George, my friend Arthur's brother, has seen him 58 times. He's seen him in
Jeez.
England, Scotland, Ireland, France, Spain, Italy, Sweden, the Czech Republic. He's popular in all those countries.
Yeah.
We all know he will sell out. I mean, how exhausting that must be to do all the traveling. The fair play to him, the fact that people are still craving now for when's he going to release the next tour? Is it going to be 27? Will he do one more? And everyone will be sold out.
Before we go to the vote, because I think we're sort of approaching it.
Yeah.
I have been a little bit swayed. We've heard from Miles, we've heard from George, neither of which are on the show. We've certainly heard from Richard and myself and Rodney. Gareth's been a little bit quiet for the last 15 minutes.
He's still thinking of Courtney, by the way.
No. I like you, Stephen, was maybe what's our club lounge potential on it? But over the last couple of days, I've started to think, about the super fandom, what he must be like live. I did love the Born in the USA album. I can't say I didn't listen to a lot of that after, but he is iconic. He does sell out the shows. So taking the independent view of it, he ticks all the boxes to get into the vault. Is he one of my faves? Definitely not. But is he one that I feel I have to see in concert before he or I die? Yeah.
All right.
Well, here's a nice quote before we go on to that. I want you to quote. I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but a few nice things Miles has said when I asked him bizarrely to say yesterday. He's just come off a long flight. Was can you write me a long paragraph? And he says, how do you, when someone asks you for a quick paragraph on the fundamental musical influence of your 66-year life by tomorrow, it feels like being asked to summarize Proust or reduce the meaning of life to a sentence. So this is how these passionate fans feel. And going back to the concerts, by the way, he says his concerts are not reproductions or communal. We know the cues. We play our part as the audience. We are in some sense in the band. They're almost like feel part of that band. And he finished off by saying something quite poignant, I thought. He said, I sometimes think about what am I going to do when it all comes to an end?
Ooh.
And when he says it, and that question of what happens when it finally stops, I mean, there will be, for those kind of fans like Miles and George and Arthur, and I suppose more like myself in some way, when that train finally stops, he often used trains in his songs, but when that train comes to a halt, my goodness, I'm not saying when he dies, but maybe when he can't play the concerts anymore, there's going to be a big loss in people's lives.
Well, the loss of the boss, with this time,
the loss of the boss.
Let's hope
Rodney,
that he stays with us for right, Stephen. I think it's time we do the voting. So let's.
Will I go first?
Yeah, go you.
Workers of the world unite. Part of the people. Bruce Springsteen gets platinum status from me.
Platinum from Stephen. Gareth.
Yeah, not sort of personally for his music, but as an independent person of the vault and knowing he should be, platinum status.
Oh, there you go, platinum. We know where Richard is, and I'm putting the boss platinum, so yeah, I'm definitely without a doubt. So he's straight into the vault. Vaulters, if you disagree or you agree, get involved with us at Blue Sky on our socials as well, and let us know what you think as well. And Bruce, if you're ever in the UK, look us up.
Well, I feel very happy about this, of course, but I like to finish off by feeling how my heart feels now.
Oh,
Oh, jeez,
that's
no.
wait a minute.
It's going to give us a song.
He's never been in touch with his emotions before.
Oh, I'm
He's
on
usually
fire.
he's usually in touch with his hairbrush, so this is going to be good. Go on then, Richard. What's this going to be?
Oh,
He's
I'm
gonna
on
what's he
fire.
he's
Yeah,
he's,
so sung. We
He's-
sung
oh,
it
he's saying
before
that's
he
all
came.
right. I
He's
talked all over that.
smoking.
Do it
He's
again. Do it
smoking.
again.
Go on,
Go on. Do it
Richard.
again.
One more time.
Again.
Do
Yeah.
it again.
Hey,
Go on.
little girl, is you good to me? Does he do the things that he does to me? Oh, I'm gonna
I can
take you high.
high.
Oh, I'm
I'm
on
I'm
on
on
fire.
fire.
There you go. Well,
Very good.
you're smoking, boss. Take care, everybody. That was the Vinyl Vault, the boss version.